Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our new series where we meet some of our customers regularly to talk about strategies and inspiration around Salesforce, but understand also their success with the Salesforce platform. My guest today is Karl Wood, Group Manager, Customer and Marketing at ADBRI, one of Australia's pioneering construction material and industrial mineral manufacturing companies. Listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, and anyone who knows me knows I get really excited about manufacturing. So companies like ADBRI, I absolutely love talking about that. I'm super excited about this conversation today, so we'll get started straight away. Karl, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story today.
No worries, happy to do so, Vincent. Looking forward to the discussion.
Great. I'm going to start with a bit of a quirky question, just to get our creative juice flowing a bit here. But if ADBRI Salesforce journey had a theme song, what would it be?
I get knocked down. No, it wouldn't be, though we do get up again. No, I'm sure that anyone that's done a Salesforce implementation could relate to different parts of their projects like that. But no, it's for us, I don't think there's a perfectly apt song that I could put to it, other than to say it's certainly been a journey. So one of those great road tripping songs I think would be good, and positive is we're continuing to get closer to that point of optimization and the end of the journey. Very different than it was 3 or 4 years ago when we first commenced.
Fantastic. Karl, could you tell us a bit more about ADBRI? What do you do, and who is ADBRI really?
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to. So as you touched on, ADBRI are a pioneering Australian manufacturing construction materials and industrial minerals company. And what we do is we manufacture cement, lime. We have downstream positions in ready-mix or pre-mix concrete, quarries where we supply aggregates to ourselves and external customers. And we also have a masonry business. We've got a vast geographic footprint. We operate at least one of our businesses in all Australian states and territories. And we supply our materials to the construction markets, residential market, infrastructure, mining, and agricultural markets, as well as energy. So quite a broad portfolio and a good balance.
Thank you. That's great. And now, obviously, you've been a Salesforce customer for now 5 years, and we've been together just over 12 months now. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey, this 5-year journey, and also how that last year's been?
Yeah, absolutely. So ADBRI were introduced to Salesforce via a team member who had experience in another organization. What we were looking to do is to move away from some legacy CRM systems. And so we started with just one division, around 25 users, to onboard from a pipeline and opportunity management system. That implementation went quite smoothly, and the adoption rate with that smaller group of users was really quite high. And we had quite a strong success that gave us the confidence in due course to then bring across our larger parts of the business in terms of having larger sales team members and people who would eventually onboard and become Salesforce users. So 2 years ago now, we aligned and standardized CRM across the ADBRI group. That's seen around another 100 users on board to give us around 125 users in total. That was a significant implementation. We did consolidate, as I mentioned, other enterprise-grade systems that one of our divisions were using. Lots and lots of Excel sheets, phone data on customers, books were still getting around. I think we had 1 or 2 Refidexes as well for some customer information. So the scale of the change was more significant, but really positive once we got through that process. And it was a real benefit at the end of that to be able to have all of our customer data in one spot.
And then obviously, Karl, over the past 12 months, you've had quite a significant project to try to control a little bit more the quoting that was going into the market and the pricing going into the market. My first question around that project is, what were the driving factors? What's the real reason why you had to undergo that big project?
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been a really big project. And obviously our first one with VISEO as well. The primary driver, without a doubt, was having a really dynamic system that provided us with increased visibility and price control effectiveness. That's something that was not as consistently applied across the board with some of those other platforms due to just the way in which they're configured. And we were aware of some of the benefits of the Salesforce quoting tool potential. And, most important, I guess, that really attracted us was, the ability to have stop lighting occur on quotes so that we can get appropriate management review of pricing and terms and conditions, etc. That allowed us to comply with delegated authorities and also provided a little bit more rigor around our pricing, which is especially important, in the markets that we've been operating in over the past couple of years to make sure we're completely across the pricing, that's going out into the marketplace.
So what I'm hearing essentially is trying to be a lot more effective with your processes internally and aligned between the different divisions. And I'm hearing also a lot of control around pricing and control of margins, essentially. So with that context, you've now been live for a number of months and using that system across the country for a number of months. Where do you feel like you've landed in terms of those benefits?
Yeah, very good question. And pleasingly, the response is a positive one. We've managed to standardize quoting throughout the business into the one platform, which is Salesforce now. Not only does it give us all of those benefits around the pricing rigor, which is really important for us, that visibility, the approval process, that documentation process, and leveraging a lot of automation to take effort away from the teams. So that has been really positive. But also it's released the teams from a time perspective where they were duplicating their effort in creating opportunities after they'd created a quote. So we're getting some efficiencies there as well. We did go live with most of our divisions in August last year. We're talking today in early February, and we have all but shut down our legacy systems. There's still some unique use cases where they're required, but the very vast majority of every single quote across the business is now going through the Salesforce platform. Our compliance with the ADBRI delegated authorities is now where it needs to be, meeting that requirement. And the consistency and the ability to review quotes and pricing in more detail is made simple, bundled into that Salesforce platform.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about maybe some of the intangible results? Like, what were the feedbacks from your teams internally? Do they feel like they've got benefits for themselves as well?
That one particular division that had to duplicate their effort, they're absolutely enjoying what the system has to offer now. And certainly from a dynamic perspective, I think the Salesforce system assists the team. We need to be able to do a new template, change a logo here, add some extra information. It is quite configurable, and we've designed that obviously in partnership with you guys to allow for that.
Obviously ADBRI is an ASX listed company. You've got executives, you've got, lots of competing priorities in a business like this one. You've obviously identified as a business that this was an important topic, something that could provide a lot of benefits. Can you tell me a little bit more about why the executive and the management team decided that this is the project that we need to go ahead with? So why was it that important for them?
I think improving visibility and having more discipline around our pricing control has been something that's been on the agenda for some time. But I think those primary drivers are really around price effectiveness, compliance, de-risking, potentially any of the limitations that existed in those legacy systems in terms of controls. They would have been the primary drivers for the team.
And so, Karl, you've obviously, you were a key actor for putting that business case together and obviously selling it to the management team and making sure that you were securing the funds. How did you approach that? And what advice would you give to any businesses that's trying to push a business case and get their management team to approve it?
Yeah, absolutely. So pleasingly and thankfully, there was awareness of a need. And I guess, from a recommendation to others' perspective, it really is dependent on the scenario within each different business. We had a couple of really unique pain points. We had an inconsistent approach. There was a high desire to standardize, a high desire to de-risk, those limitations in other systems. So it was quite helpful. Of course, we still needed to go through the process of developing a business case. And the way in which we approached that was starting with the problem state. So really just sharing and identifying the pain points that our teams have that are using the incumbent systems, but also from more of a management perspective, highlighting some of the gaps that are present, some of those risks, and then, of course, presenting the solution and how we could potentially, bridge the gap between those risks and also the opportunities that exist in having a more dynamic system. And then from there, it was really just a case of building out, a full list of these are the benefits that we're looking to experience, and these are the problems that we're looking to solve, matching those together and putting a cost obviously to that, factoring our time, the project team time, effort, change management perspective from the business, and on the back of the recent successful Salesforce CRM implementation, I think there was some residual confidence, which also supported the case as well.
You've mentioned change management a few times, and obviously that project impacted roughly 100 users, or a bit more than 100 users across, a pretty wide and big country. Australia is pretty difficult to comprehend, have, the different cultures and the size. How did you approach change management during that project, and did you face any specific challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's well north of 100 users at the moment as we've onboarded other teams and support teams and all of those who are involved in servicing and supporting our customers from a quoting perspective. So, certainly from a numbers perspective, there has been a considerable change piece. Thankfully, I'm not just saying this, we really do have a great team with very supportive leaders, and that was critical, was having the support and buy-in from those leaders. I think it was advantageous that we'd collaborated with each of the business units in developing the first system. There were representatives from each of the areas, key SMEs that all had a seat at the table. Their leadership throughout was really, really impressive. So, setting the expectation from the team, doing a really good job of unpacking the why, what does it mean for us, balancing that business need and desire for improvement and an outcome with the understanding of how that would impact the frontline team. So really well supported by those key leaders. And I think, the key to managing that, as I mentioned earlier, not without its challenges at all, but was having the right stakeholders engaged very early on, and just continually talking about it. And as I said, relying on, their strong leadership, which has certainly accelerated the rate in which the team have adopted the quoting tool in particular.
Okay. And today, if you look at your, your change management plan, and you look at the adoption level, I'm sure there's always a few users who don't really want to use a system or always a
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you conduct your change management differently if you had to restart and redo that project again?
Yeah, I think there's probably two things that we would take forward, or that personally, I've reflected on and thought, we would do that a little bit differently in the future. The first is the way in which we delivered the training and onboarding. Our business, like many, we're really effective on Teams. I do think, blending a little bit more in-person training would have been useful, just because it is very easy to sit on the team session and look through a screen share and participate in the co-design and do UAT and then ultimately onboarding training. But then someone goes away, the camera turns off and you're on your own. In the areas where we did conduct in-person training with, myself or any of the other project team SMEs, we definitely experienced really positive feedback from that it was welcomed, and we're able to hang around and actually, sort of help desk in person with the team as they're learning. So that would be something for sure. I think the other thing is just right from the start, sharing as widely as possible. And we did a really, a good job of that. But, communication was centered with project team and key management. And I think that the more, we can communicate to the impacted end users from the very start, not just necessarily that leadership group, the better, and really just linking the purpose. We're doing this because I think really just underscoring that early on is giving back that purpose. This isn't just another project to enhance A, B, and C. Making really, really clear, the reason that we're doing that and letting everyone, be comfortable with that before we progress. That would be things that I would take into a future Salesforce project.
Okay, fantastic. Let's bring it back a little bit to your organization. So you obviously started your journey with a CRM project, pretty standard, you would think, a good first step, and you had a massive step over the past 12 months, implementing that, pricing tool and quoting system and pricing delegation of authority. Where to from here? It feels like you've covered a lot already. So what does the future look like now for ADBRI?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, the important thing for right now, Vincent, is really just bedding down, effective and efficient use of the quote system. I think the next phase for us really is going back and looking at user experience and spending some time there, listening to the teams and now allocating some resource from an enhancement and development perspective to actually making that process smoother for them. And there's some great use cases that we're already focused on. Certainly some projects in the pipeline, that we're considering, and it's all around sales enablement, continuing to put all of the things in one spot. We have a number of materials that support, our customers and our quotes and our projects. Some are online, some are offline, so that the team have only one place that they need to go looking. So that's, on the radar for sure. There's also some bigger ticket items that we're considering and probably premature to go into now, but it really is about making life easier for our customers and our salespeople. So there's a couple of things that stand out there.
Thank you, Karl. And look, we're about to wrap up now, but before we do, I'm keen to understand, is there any final thoughts that other people in the Salesforce ecosystem may benefit from hearing from you?
I think it depends what stage of sophistication or maturity you're at with your Salesforce project, or your Salesforce system rather. So, from an ADBRI perspective, we're probably still at the start of our journey in terms of developing out the system and sophistication. So, given where we're at, the things that I'm thinking about are enhancement, user experience, continuing to focus on adoption, and really coming back to that, those two key things and two key levers that helped us with the change management piece is effectively communicating what it is that we want to do, really healthy balance of looking for the next opportunity proactively, like from my perspective, or the project team perspective, how can we improve? But also healthy balance of listening to the team, what is it that isn't working for you? What is it that we could be doing to improve? And continuing to liaise and engage with those key stakeholders that are going to provide, you as a project coordinator, project leader, project manager, they're going to provide you with the support of, 10, 20, 30 other team members who you need to onboard. So, keeping them close, keeping them informed, continuing to talk to them about, how we could help them. That's probably the final thoughts that, that come to mind, Vincent, is just, knowing it is likely that at some point we will continue to develop out our Salesforce platform. And okay, if we're going to do that successfully, keep that communication really high and try and deliver user experience benefits now that we're through all of the pain of getting the system up and running and tested and consolidated and 100 and however many team members onboarded. How can we make it easier now?
That's a great point. Look, Karl, thank you so much for joining us today. We're certainly very proud of the work that you've done, at ADBRI with Salesforce, and of course our collaboration with VISEO over the past 12 months. We obviously hope that your journey will continue with Salesforce, but we've got no doubt that you'll always be successful based on our conversation today. Again, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon.
No worries. Thanks, Vincent.